Well, hi guys. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Adam Pearce. I'm the CEO at Blend Commerce. We are a Shopify agency based in Warwickshire in the UK. And I'm joined here today with Andy Allen from Hike SEO. So Andy, welcome.
Brilliant. No, thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, guys, before we kind of dive in today, I'm going to give Andy a chance at the moment to tell you guys a little bit more about what Andy does specifically. But I just kind of wanted to set the context really for why I've done this session today. Now, we've been obviously talking to a lot of our clients recently who are all Shopify and Shopify Plus clients. And I think one of the things that, is kind of concerning people is what is going to happen in terms of Facebook ads and paid ads, particularly when it comes to iOS 14. And I think coupled with that, the cost of ads has gone up pretty significantly over the past 6 to 12 months. There's a lot more traffic and a lot more people are coming online to sell and also to buy. And I think the thing for me is that when I kind of think about, how we use the tools that we've got at our disposal in marketing, what we want to be thinking about is particular deadlines, particular things that we're trying to hit. And one of the things I'm interested in at the moment is that looking ahead to different holiday periods, because when it comes to different holiday periods, so whether that is Mother's Day, Father's Day, whether it's Christmas, all of those things, these all present a number of opportunities and challenges when it comes to actually bringing people to your site, particularly if you're selling products. So what we're going to do today is to basically take a bit of a deep dive into looking at that particular idea of Father's Day, which Andy has very gratefully for me come on and to be able to talk very completely about this. And what I am going to do is just basically be with you guys today on this live session, just to kind of come along for the ride to see exactly what it is we could be doing right now to then try and help us rank for that Father's Day holiday that is coming up, obviously in June, as well as using those principles with the holidays as well. So, Andy, as I said, it's great to have you with me. I know we've known each other for quite a while now, and I know we've had a lot of formal communications and probably a few beers and bars as well, which we probably won't go into now. Aside from that, tell everyone what it is you do and about your company, Hike.
Yeah, sure. So personally, I've been in the SEO world for coming up to 10 years. So I started off working in an SEO agency, then I moved to another SEO agency. Then I went in-house to work at an international e-commerce brand to be the global head of SEO. Then I left there a bit freelancing. So I've been doing SEO for a long time now. And then I got together with my other co-founder, Kieran, over a drink, and we decided to come up with a platform, and kind of the idea for Hike came from there. So Hike's essentially it's a SaaS platform, an SEO SaaS platform. But unlike other SEO platforms, we've built it for the person who doesn't know SEO. So if you've ever used an SEO platform before, there's lots of big ones out there. They're used by SEO professionals all over the world, because they give you lots of information, lots of data. Now, for someone like myself, it's brilliant because I can look at that data and I can interpret it into exactly what I need to do for an SEO campaign. I know how to prioritize it, how to think, how long things are going to take, because I've got that experience. But if you're a small business owner, you've never done that before. So that data can be kind of meaningless sometimes. So we developed Hike. We thought, well, there must be a solution where instead of just giving someone the raw data, we just tell them what to do with it, and we prioritize it. We give it to them in monthly actions. We tell them how long it's going to take, and they tell us how much time they've got, and then we adjust what we show them. So yeah, we're going for 2.5 years now, and we're helping over 4,500 small businesses across the world to do their own SEO and save money on expensive agency fees. Because lots of small business owners might not want to spend, pay for an SEO agency, but they know how important SEO is, like probably lots of your viewers today.
No, absolutely. And I think the other thing I'm going to point out as well, Andy, is that even if you aren't a small business, we actually have clients that use Hike SEO. So let's say, for example, you're a slightly bigger brand, that you've got maybe marketing assistants in your team that are not necessarily SEO experts. You can get them to do your SEO for you with Hike. And that's something that we've done, haven't we, Andy, with our clients at Blend, is that getting to use the tool rather than maybe going down kind of like getting an agency to do it or bringing in someone extra. So, from my point of view, guys, definitely go and have a look at Hike. I put the link in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. So if you're watching there, you can take a little look at that and take a click. So let's kind of start off then, Andy. I mean, I suppose one of the things is that when we think about SEO, we always jump to that initial idea of keywords. And when it kind of comes to keywords, and if we're thinking about, for example, Father's Day in particular, How do you go about finding those right keywords?
Yeah, sure. So I guess whenever I think about creating keywords or doing keyword research and building out a list of keywords, the first thing I always do is I get the business to kind of write it down. So I'm like, think of all the products, all of the, whether it's a category-based phrase or actual individual products. So like Father's Day gifts or Father's Day large mug, something like that. That's like, you've got the category and you've got the product itself. Start to make a list of everything that you offer that's relevant for Father's Day. That's the first place to start. The next place then is just to go into, you can use SEO software, of course, but I kind of don't want to talk about it today. I want to say how you can just do it yourself with kind of free tools. Go into Google and just start to have a look, right? So start to put in some of these phrases. What you'll start to see are the types of results. And from those, you'll start to get other ideas for other keywords. So, you might put in Father's Day gifts. You might see that some of the results below talk about Father's Day gifts for men, Father's Day gifts for, well, men's quite obvious, right? Father's Day gifts from children, Father's Day gifts from daughter. Those sorts of we call them long tail keywords, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to build up a list of kind of what we call short tail keywords, which are kind of like the top level phrases, Father's Day gifts, Father's Day gift ideas, and then the real long tail keywords. Now that could be something like Father's Day gifts from daughters, Father's Day gift ideas for cycle lovers. You can go really long tail, really, really niche. And then you can also look at the products specific. So if you have actual Father's Day specific gifts, right? So I guess a lot of retailers sell gifts that are relevant for Father's Day. So it could be anything, a beer making kit, for example. But others will actually have Father's Day specific gifts. So it might be a Father's Day mug, Father's Day cards, Father's Day posters, whatever it may be. So start to list those out as well. As you're searching in Google as well, so that's somewhere where you can just start to get ideas. As you're searching in Google, use the autocomplete box as well. Now this is really, really handy. So let me just quickly do it while I'm here. So if I search Father's Day gift in Google, I get the autocomplete box and I get loads of other keyword ideas straight underneath. I get Father's Day gift ideas, Father's Day gifts UK, Father's Day gift ideas from daughter, Father's Day gifts from son, Father's Day gifts from bump or baby, or Father's Day gift box. So I'm starting to get all these other keyword ideas straight away, which is great, right? These are all long tail keyword ideas and keywords I might not have thought about that I can actually, is relevant, that could be relevant for your product set and what you offer. Like, for example, if you do kind of from babies and you've got like Father's Day gifts from bump, which is a lovely phrase. But you might not do that. You might be like Father's Day gifts for footballers or whatever. So start to look at those phrases that drop down. Another cool place to look at is at the bottom of Google. You get related searches down there. Now, these can be a little bit hit and miss. So I've just gone to the bottom and it's got vegan Father's Day gifts UK. And that's a great long tail if you provide vegan Father's Day gifts. And then next to it, it says men's birthday gifts, birthday present ideas. So some of those recommendations aren't quite as handy. But it's still, it can still give you some good ideas by looking at the bottom of that kind of related searches. What you want to look at, if you never heard of it, because what you want to do really is qualify these ideas in a way, right? Because you want to go, well, here's all the ideas, but which ones are the best ones that I should go for? One of the best ways to do that is to use something called search volume. So search volume is a figure from Google that tells you, on average, how many people search for a specific keyword every month. Sorry. So if I search Father's Day gifts, I know that the search volume is around, to load, 300,000, right? So that's on average how many people per month search that. What you have to bear in mind, though, and this is really important for the holidays, is this monthly search volume figure you get from Google. What Google do is they take the 12-month total and they divide it by 12 and they average it out. So it's not like every single month 300,000 people are searching for Father's Day gifts, whether it's December, January, June, or July, right? In June, it's going to be really, really high. There might be millions of people search for it. In July, it might drop off the edge of a cliff, which is most likely. It's the same for all holiday seasons. The bulk of those searches are going to come at the point, a month before and on the month of that event. So that's something to think about. But yeah, what you can do is if you can look at that search volume figure, then you can start to see, okay, what phrases have actually got a bigger search volume and what's the best one to go for. So let me give an example. If I do Father's Day gifts for vegans, let's have a look. So this has got a search volume, okay, of 0. Might be the way I've done it. If I do vegans Father's Day gifts UK, okay, let me just go. I'm trying to find a good example here. We can give 2 comparisons. Okay, so vegan Father's Day gifts has got a couple of hundred searches per month. If I do for vegetarians instead, right? So I might go, well, my product's also relevant for vegetarians. And I can start to see, and I go, okay, which is the best one to go for? Okay, because this has got slightly more, so around 250 searches per month. So I can see immediately, okay, which is the best one to go for on that category page. So you want to try and qualify those phrases. So that's my first point, which is around how to find these kind of keyword ideas. There's a really important part next, which is deciding what to do with them. But maybe we should stop there, Adam, in case you've got any questions around that or want to go into any bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question I've got is, so say, for example, you are a clothing or apparel brand, and you're trying to tap in to obviously the increased traffic, the increased search is going to be around Father's Day. Is kind of the first point then of saying, okay, if I take my product, what are these other areas that this can fit in for? So let's say, for example, it's you're a Shopify store that sells designer clothing, and it might be, designer clothing ideas for Father's Day, or Father's Day gifts for fashionable dads, or is that the kind of process that you want to go through of trying to think about what is that, I guess, kind of uniqueness that you can tap into that particular Father's Day idea about to get these?
Yeah, it's a really good point. You need to look at your own product set, because you might go, okay, well, let me just try and go for the keyword Father's Day gifts, right? Now, if we look at the Father's Day gifts, the websites that are going to rank on page 1 for that are going to be the retailers that provide a wide variety of different gift types, right? It's going to be those that do alcohol gifts, clothing gifts, gadgets, all of that. So if your product is designer clothing, then it's going to be really difficult for you to rank on that first page of Google for a generic term like Father's Day gifts, when you're only really providing one small gift idea, right? So that's where you want to go down what we call the long tail route, like you said there, Adam, of going, okay, who is it for? How can we make this keyword longer and look for a niche? So that it's a good idea what you mentioned is trying to think about all of the specific dads, let's say, or the specific dads, and what terms would be relevant for that set, for that product set that you've got, and trying to bundle them up like that, and then looking to see if there are keywords that have got a search volume around those areas.
Excellent, cool. Because I think that's kind of the thing, is it's like, I think a lot of brands that we work with are always conscious that, look, there are these holidays coming up, and it's like, Valentine's Day, I think, is a perfect example as well. It's like we've got products that could potentially be great gifts, but we're not actively categorizing those as Valentine's gifts, for example, on the store. And I think that's kind of where people get a little bit and sort of, stuck with that. From a kind of a keyword point of view as well, when you are thinking about, sort of saying, look, I have these different areas, I've looked at the different volume. Is there a particular volume that should be looking at as a minimum to then try and start ranking for? Or is it more about a scale in terms of the different options that you've got and then going with the one that has the most volume? What's the sort of decision-making process that you need to go down in that context?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, as a general rule of thumb, right, when you're thinking about search volume, you want to go, when we're talking about like-for-like keywords anyway, you want to go for the phrase which has a bigger search volume, right? So let's say you've got 2 like-for-like keywords, vegetarian Father's Day gift ideas versus Father's Day gifts for vegetarians, right? Or vegetable lovers, let's say, right? You got these 2, and they're kind of like-for-like, right? They're targeting exactly the same audience. You'll want to go for the phrase which is going to have the most search volume. In cases like that, where it's like for like, the search volumes are going to be fairly similar, right? But if you're like, well, Father's Day gifts has got 300,000 people searching for it a month, whereas Father's Day gifts for vegetable lovers has got 100 people searching for it a month, I should go for Father's Day gifts, right? So by using that same logic, you'd go, well, Andy, I'd go for the Father's Day gifts. But then you need to kind of draw it back. You need to think about the relevance of it to your own brand. So, if you only do food, gifts for vegetable lovers, you're not really going to rank for Father's Day gifts because you're not providing the full product set that some of these other brands are. So that's one thing you need to think about in terms of relevance. And with that will come conversion rate as well, right? Like you can target, let's say for whatever reason you did target Father's Day gifts and you magically got onto page 1. If all you're selling is, gifts for vegetable lovers, your conversion rate is going to be so tiny. It's not going to be worth it, right? Whereas if you're ranking right up there when people are searching for that exact product that they want, like they've specified their search, to the extent where they know exactly what they want, and then you come up, all they have to do is find a product they like the price of and a delivery, and they're going to buy, right? They're so much further down that purchase funnel, that buying funnel, that they're gonna be much higher. And then so that's another consideration. Another consideration is your average cost, right? Or your average basket size or lifetime value, right? So if a keyword's got a really low search volume, but actually, your average basket size is quite high, they're going to be a returning customer. You need to think about lifetime value. It's one thing that a lot of retailers, e-commerce retailers, don't think about, especially with their marketing channels. It's like, okay, they've made one sale, great. But that person went on to purchase 4 or 5 times. Then it might be that lifetime value of that customer is $1,000, right? And then, so if the search volume is 100 a month, that's 100 people potentially who could have a lifetime value of £1,000 per month. So, if there's a keyword that's got a low search volume and the average order value and lifetime value is really high, and there's another keyword that's the same search volume, but the average order value is much lower and the lifetime value is much lower, then you want to go for the one that's going to lead to greater sales. So there's lots of things to think about. It's never so simple as just go for the keyword with the highest search volume or go for the keyword with the lowest search volume. You need to view it from those different areas in terms of like relevance, achievability, lifetime value, and how much it's going to cost.
I think that's really good advice because I think sometimes in e-commerce we kind of get obsessed with top line number, don't we? You need to look at those metrics together, which I think is a really useful piece of information. Okay, great. I mean, guys, if you have any questions in the audience about keywords or just about this topic generally, just fire those into the comments section on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're listening. Andy, were you going to say a little bit more about keywords, or were we going to sort of think a bit more about kind of the next phase now?
Yeah, probably move on to the next phase, and I can neatly tie it together.
Cool. So I think, once we've looked at our keywords, we've found those ones in terms of the long tails that we think is going to be useful. The traditional advice that you're going to get from SEO is, right, go and create a shit ton of content, get it out there, start ranking for them.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is the typical, that's what people come to us saying. As with everything, it's more nuanced than that, right? It's way more nuanced than that. So one thing that I think is really important for anyone that wants to learn SEO, and if I can teach people one thing today, hopefully this is it, that keywords fall into many different categories, but for the purpose of this conversation, they fall into 2 main categories. They'll fall into what we call a transactional keyword or an informational keyword. And this is based on the intent of the searcher. And it's what Google determines. So we've all done a search, right, where we've searched for Father's Day gift ideas for dads, granddads, something like that, right? And what will come back, you might think, oh, great, I'm going to find a load of websites that are going to sell me products that are relevant for a granddad. And actually what comes back is a bunch of articles, listicle articles, the top 5 products for your granddad, the best products for the older gentleman, whatever it might be, right? You've got the results, which aren't quite what you expected. And the same is true vice versa, right? You can search for what you think is you looking for information, and what Google returns is e-commerce websites where you can transact and buy something. So when you're doing SEO, you need to not think what you think the intent is. You need to go to Google and actually have a look. Because if Google is showing articles, or blogs is probably the better way to put it. If Google's showing blogs results for the keyword you want to go for, then don't try and optimize a collections page or a category page, because Google's not going to rank it, right? Google has treated that keyword as an informational intent keyword. So you need to create a piece of content as well, right? That's the game you need to play to rank on the first page of Google. You need to create a piece of content, a guide or whatever it may be. And, if there's a keyword that you want to go for and you search it in Google and all it's bringing back are collections pages, then you need to create a collections page. There's no point going out and building crap loads of content when it doesn't matter, right? What matters is your collections page, because that's what Google's going to show you. You can have the best blog in the world. But if Google doesn't classify that keyword as having if it classifies a keyword as having a transactional intent, your blog post is going to really struggle to rank because it doesn't match that intent. So when you've found your keywords, that's a very, very important step, is understanding what kind of content Google promotes, because that then dictates what you need to do from an SEO point of view. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the one thing I think that it's not intuitive for people to understand that if they're not doing SEO day in, day out. So hopefully that, I don't know, what do you think, Adam? Is that kind of clear?
I think it does. And, when it kind of comes to using hikers, I think that's one of the powerful things about it, because what you guys do is you're pinpointing those areas that you actually need to focus on, rather than just saying you need to go and do a blog on X, which is, kind of what, the majority of people who have not been involved with SEO before think is kind of how it's going to work. And then you get that frustration when you're 3-6 months down the line and you're not seeing traffic from it. And it's frustrating, isn't it? Because it's like, the intent was there to do something good and the logic was kind of good, but from Google's point of view, that's not what they're looking. They're not looking at your blog. They're looking at that, like you say, your product page or your collections page.
Yeah, exactly.
Where traffic's going to go. And I think in a way that's a good thing, because for a lot of the time, the effort in terms of doing that is a lot easier than saying, let's go and do a 800 word piece of content, which going to take us time. So it's, if you're smarter about in that way, then it's actually less time that you got to spend on doing that. Yeah,
exactly that. And one of the things you can do to help support that collections page is some blogs. But there's loads of things you can do to support that collections page. That's just one of the tactics that you can do. So it's still a good thing to do potentially to help, but it's that collections page that that you need to rank. And I guess probably a bigger point here is, if you want to rank for these holidays, you'll need to create a collections page for that holiday, right? I guess this is kind of something that's really clear if people haven't done it. If you want to rank for Father's Day, gifts, whatever it may be, whatever keyword you want to go for, and it's a transactional keyword, you need to create a dedicated collections page for it. And you ideally want to have it within very easily accessible for your users, and then for Googlebot, right? So have it in your main menu, have it linked from your homepage. These are all kind of standard practices, I guess. So for example, right, if I go to Google and I search Father's Day gift ideas, now typically my intuition would be that this is going to bring back lots of blogs, lots of blogs that say, here's the top gift ideas for fathers in 2021, got my years wrong. And, and it'd be the sort of thing you'd find on Huffington Post or, any kind of site that has, strong content focus. But it doesn't, and it's interesting. I wonder if this has changed over the years. So I'm fairly sure a couple of years ago it would have done. But if you search this keyword now, Google treats this as a transactional keyword. So the first result is a collections page or a category page, right? Second result is, the fourth result is, every single result on here, bar one, which is an 8th position, is a category page, right? It's an e-commerce landing page where you can, a Father's Day specific e-commerce category page where you can purchase something. So for me, that's interesting because, Father's Day gift ideas, that feels to me like an informational intent keyword. So but looking at the results, there'd be no point me trying to optimize a blog post for this because Google is preferring a category page. So you'd be better off optimizing a category page for this. So I think that's a fairly good example, I thought, because it screams to me like it should be informational, but it's really not. And then if I put on the end Father's Day gift ideas for vegans, now this feels to me like it should be more of a transactional, because typically the more long tail you get, you think, okay, that's when you get the more transactional results. But interestingly, that's not the case. So if I search that, result number 1, 15 vegan Father's Day gifts every dad will love. Result number 2, 28 vegan Father's Day gift ideas for every kind of dad. Number 3, top 20, so listicles, right? So this is that longer tail one. And so let's say you're a vegan or whatever it may be website, then actually, if you want to rank for this, you've got to create an article. So it's really interesting to see there, the type of content you need for those 2 different types of keywords. And it's not what you'd expect, right?
And I think you make a good point there. It's like you've got Google as a resource to show you what content it's favoring in relation to those particular keywords. So use that as a guide rather than just thinking I've got to do a blog every time to improve my rank on this. I mean, the question I was going to ask you about is that in terms of those kind of listicle articles, rather than doing one yourself, I mean, are you able to? Is there a way to kind of tap into other people's? If so, what's kind of the process for doing that?
Yeah, no, that's really great point. So when you have an informational intent keyword and it's bringing back articles, you've got 2 options, right? You can either go, I'm going to create an article, I'm going to optimize it, and I'm going to try and rank for it, which is going to be a difficult task. It's going to be a difficult task, but you might want to go down that route. That's absolutely fine. The other way, which is, I guess, a quick way, they call it hermit SEO, where you kind of piggyback in on someone else's page 1 results. So that would be the equivalent of being listed on these listicle articles. So if I go back to this ideas for vegans, you've got the 28 vegan Father's Day gift ideas, which is from a blog called vegnews.com, right? So you want to get your product mentioned on there. So there's 2 ways you can go about this. One, you can reach out to the websites that are already ranking, because if I have a look at this, and this is something good that kind of Google does, which is quite handy. It shows you the date of the article, right? So in position 1, the article 15 vegan Father's Day gift ideas every dad will love, that was published on the 15th of June 2019. So that's coming up to 2 years old, but it's still on page 1. Underneath that, the 4th of June 2018. Underneath that, the 12th of June 2019, which I think shows 2 things. One, how long it can take a blog post to rank really well, right? It's not a quick thing. These blog posts have probably been updated every year since. They've been around for a long time, built up a lot of SEO authority. So if you do want to, like I mentioned before, if you want to go down the route of doing your own article, it's going to take a long time. If you write it now, unless it's a very, very niche area you're doing it for, you're probably not going to rank in time for Father's Day. So the other point that shows is that why not reach out to these guys? Why not find contact details, find who wrote it if it's got the author on there, reach out to them on social media, try and find an email for them and say, hey, look, this is my brand, this is what we do. I love your article. Can we get, is there any way that we can get listed on there? And some of them will be affiliates, right? So if you have an affiliate program, great. That's one way that you can try and entice them to mention your product within that. Others don't, others not necessarily. You can just say that here's my product. What you'll often have to do, and be mindful of this, you'll probably have to send a product example. Now that is just the nature of it, to be honest. These people make a living by running these blogs. And one of the ways they do make a living is, they get recompense and they do it via actual free product. So try and set yourself a budget, right? Go, right, this year for Father's Day or for Christmas or whatever holiday, I'm going to set a budget of $500, which means that I can send out 15, 20, including delivery of these products, all right? And then what you want to do is you want to choose 15 to 20 websites. So one of the routes, like I mentioned, is look at who already's ranking, right? Are they going to be able to update their post, or are they going to be writing a new post for 2021 and you want to get in there? The other way is finding the websites that are going to be writing a new article, the ones that are definitely going to be writing a new article and getting listed within those. That can feel like an impossible task, right? Like, how do you know if someone's going to be writing an article about Father's Day gift ideas? But there's one incredible tool in your arsenal available, which is called Helper Reporter Out, or any kind of similar. Adam, have you ever used Helper Reporter Out?
Well, we've been featured in BuzzFeed, Huffington Post.
Nice.
So yeah, it's Right.
Yeah, and it's amazing for e-com websites. If you're happy to put a little bit of budget aside for sending product and putting the time aside. So essentially, if people don't know what Harrow is, it's called Help a Reporter Out. And it's a service where if there's a journalist, a blogger, anyone in the media who's creating a piece of content, typically an article, around a particular given subject, they'll post on Harrow saying, hey, I'm writing this piece or I'm creating this piece of content around this particular area. Because remember, not all bloggers and journalists are experts in every area. They need support. And they'll have requirements. And you know, if you help me with this article, then I'll feature you, I'll include you. Now, loads and loads of journalists post whenever they're going to do a gift guide. And you know, sometimes it's quite big publications, sometimes it's smaller kind of bloggers. But bear in mind, with Harrow, they need to be of a certain size to even be able to post on Harrow. So you're not going to get these tiny brand new websites on there. So you go into Harrow. I mean, Hike will do this as well, right? But well, what Hike will do actually is you can specify keywords, and then Hike will just show you the results come through. But with Harrow, you can just sift through every single day, looking for anyone who is writing a blog on Father's Day gift ideas. And believe me, there'll be loads for every holiday they do this. Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas, you name it. They will do gift guides, and there'll be loads of them. And if you respond and they like the idea of your product, you know, you make your product enticing to them, and you send, what they'll do is they'll go, okay, sounds good. Can you send me products so I can review it? And then they'll list you. And that's another great way of being mentioned on these listicles. And another bonus to that is you get a backlink, which is brilliant from an SEO point of view as well. So it's a great backlink building strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, we check Harrow every day, you know, for opportunities for us. But like I say, I'm always seeing gift guides, you know, particular products that people are looking for, you know, experts in, you know, fitness. So if you've got a fitness brand or whatever it might be, there's so much on there. It's mind blowing. I think the other thing I wanted to ask you about, Andy, is that when you're kind of looking, obviously now, so we've looked at obviously the keyword aspect, and then we're thinking about kind of the content that we're either going to create, we're going to amend, or we're going to try and be part of. Is it important to look at your competition, or is it about looking at them in a particular way that's more important?
Yeah. So in terms of competitors, I guess it's more relevant for the creation side. So whether you're going to decide to create a product or collections page, or if you're going to create a piece of content, you decide to go down the route of trying to target it from a blog. So in those instances, you really want to be looking at the competition, because in a way, you know, Google tells you, like, to reverse engineer it can be quite simple in a lot of ways, because you already know who rank really well, right? So you can just have a look who's on the first page of Google, and reverse engineer what they're doing in terms of their content creation. So if we start with like a collections page, you know, let's say it's a transactional keyword. So you put in your keyword, Father's Day gift ideas. Review those websites that are on page one. So have a look at them one by one, let's say, and you'll want to be reviewing certain elements. So the SEO, I suppose, first off, the kind of real specific SEO data. So what kind of phrases they put in their page title? How are they formatting their page title? Their meta description, what kind of content they're using with their meta description? How are they enticing people to click on the search results and go through to their website? Where are they placing that collections page within their website? You can look at their URL, right? Is it top level, as in like it's just domain.com/Father's Day, or does it live under /gift ideas /summer /Father's Day? You know, like how are they structuring their website? Where are they placing that? Because that can impact SEO as well. So you want to be looking at those kind of specific SEO. You want to be looking also at the content of the page. So do they use content? You know, from an e-com point of view, it's difficult, you know, whether to kind of marry the balance between getting the SEO content on the page, but also making it good from a UX point of view. How do you, actually, that's a question for you, Adam. How do you guys you must get this question a lot, right? Like, how do I put SEO content on the page without it kind of pushing my products down or anything like that?
Mm. I mean, the main thing that we found is that basically testing out in terms of product descriptions, particularly about using tabs and lists. And we found that kind of depending on which niche the client's in, one can generally work better than the other. I think the difficulty comes is obviously that there's always that kind of not disagreement, but that kind of fight in between, right, from an SEO point of view versus design point of view versus development point of view. You're all pulling in different directions. I think the main thing that we've kind of seen is that because we're trying to generally improve rank on a particular product, then actually the products and collection page is really the two areas where we're going to be focusing our attention on. From an econ point of view, that's where it makes sense. Rather than saying the more general, longer term SEO that you do maybe on a WordPress site if it was kind of more of a blog based site. So that's kind of how we tackle that.
Yeah, no, that's dead right. And it's always such a tricky thing because if you work with an SEO agency, they'll be viewing it with just like SEO rose-tinted spectacles, right? They will not be thinking about the business as a whole, and the UX designer will be thinking about from the UX point of view, and you'll have all these competing views, and it's never that simple. And I think that's such an important thing to get across. It's never as simple as if you don't do this one SEO thing, it's not going to be beneficial for your brand. You have to take it all into consideration. I guess one of the reasons why SEOs do focus on content for ecom, on product pages, collection pages, because if you're a small business or even slightly bigger brand, but you're not ranking at the top of Google, you need to kind of pull every lever you can, and that's what SEO is all about. It's about pulling levers. There's never, when it comes to ranking high in Google, there's never just like this one lever, and if you beat your competitors this one lever, you'll outdo them for everything, right? There's lots of ranking factors, lots of variables that impact where you rank when it comes to SEO. It'll be some technical elements, content elements, page speed, backlinks, citations, all of these things, right? Now, that doesn't mean that, if you don't do, I suppose what that means is even if you're weak in a particular area, you can improve another area, right? To bring your average up.
Yeah.
And when you're a small business with an e-com site, you might notice that some of those huge brands, they don't have content on the collections page, or their product page descriptions are really poor, yet they're ranking at the top of Google. It's like, yeah, fair enough, but they don't have to, right? They're so strong in all these other 199 ranking factors, which all have different importance. They're so strong they don't have to, right? As a small business, you probably don't have these other really strong areas. So in a way, you need to pull every single lever that you can to give yourself the best chance of ranking. And that's why SEOs will say, look, let's get a little bit of content on there. So we get a little bit of content on there, that's going to help Google understand what keywords to rank for. Or, on our product pages, let's get some better product descriptions on there. Let's make sure we're not using the manufacturer descriptions. We're not using the same description on every single product page, but change it one word, right? Because they're all levers that we can pull. And I think ultimately, though, it's down to the business whether they need to kind of like decide whether by adding that content, it will help SEO, but it will have such a detrimental impact on conversion rate, then, that's understood. So I think that's one thing as well. Like, don't ever, when it comes to SEO or anyone really, like if they say it has to be done otherwise it's never going to work, it's not like that. It's just trying to pull the levers that you can. You have to kind of balance it all together. One of the good things actually is Google moved to a kind of mobile first indexing last year, the year before. It depends on your website, right? And what that means is Google looks at your mobile version of your website and bases your rankings really off that mobile version. And it didn't do that before, right? It was based on the desktop version. Now with a mobile, the design's really tricky, right? You have a lot more stuff that's hidden behind read more or behind tabs, which is a great example. Tabs is a brilliant example. Now on a desktop, you can display that nicer. On a mobile, you have to use tabs because of the size and everything. And because of that, Google means that it has to treat that content that's almost hidden behind tabs as actually just being genuine content, right? So you can have content, you can be clever in how you display content on these pages now, because Google does treat it as being more valid than it used to, because Google understands that on the mobile, you can't display everything straight away. So, on a collections page, you can have like, your H1, then you can have a bit of description. Now, people usually say, let's say 50 to 100 words. And someone will go, I don't want to do 50 to 100 words. It's going to push my products down below the fold. But why not just have a sentence, then a read more that goes ... Now that's fulfilling the same purpose, right? Google, because that's what you have to do when space is magnified on the mobile. But because of that, you can use that to your advantage now. So you can still get that SEO content in there, but from a UX point of view, you can minimize its impact by having like that read more ... So just a couple of like tricks that you can do to really get better content on there, but not impact your UX as much. Because that's, yeah, again, that's another thing where SEOs used to go, no, I have 150 words of content. It's like, well, no one's going to buy anything, right? They can't see any products.
I think, Andy, this is why I always like talking to you about SEO, because I think, you understand that it's going to be part of a bigger puzzle. And I think that's why I also really like Hike, because it brings that into the context and also gives you that layering of different priorities for the different things that you can do. So I think, look, this has been a really, really useful session. And what I've actually done is, as we've gone through, I've put all the tips that you mentioned actually as comments. So if anyone is watching this live, literally just scroll back up the comments and you'll see all the tips that Andy gave there. And equally as well, if you're watching this on replay, again, scroll through the comments and you'll see all the bits and pieces that Andy has mentioned. So Andy, obviously, if we want to find out more about Hike, explain to us briefly sort of, how it works in terms of how you can start getting involved with it and what you need to do, basically.
Yeah, sure. So I guess if you want to find out a bit more, just head over to our website, hikeseo.co. And it ends after .co, so it's not .com or .co.uk, it's .co. Have a look at our website. It tells you everything about the platform itself. You can find out loads on there. We have a blog. Oh, there you go. Thanks, Adam. There's loads on there you can find out about. You can even run a quick SEO report for your website. So if you're interested in just getting a free report, there's an option on there just to get quick, free, cost you nothing, take a few minutes to run, and you can see a snapshot of your website against a top competitor as well. Have a look on there. We have a Facebook group. So if you're interested to kind of, you don't have to be a customer, but if you want to learn more about SEO, then we have a Facebook group called Hike SEO for Startups. So if you search that, if you want to become a customer, we've got really simple plans. It's a monthly SaaS platform, right? So you just pay per month, and just it will, I guarantee in your first month you'll find so much that you can do to improve your SEO that even if you decide not to stay on, you'll get value from that. We also have a really cool SEO academy on there. So if SEO is something that you want to just start learning more about, maybe you've read loads of like online resources, watch YouTube videos about what to do when it comes to SEO. You probably know all these words, right? These buzzwords, these areas, but you can't put it all together into a coherent whole, right? It's got nothing to hang on to almost. So the SEO academy we built is just completely to take someone from beginner to a much more advanced level. It's a video-based academy, and the feedback we get is that people are just like, finally it's just putting everything together. So it all just makes sense as a unit rather than just watching the odd blog or reading the odd thing, which, I'm guilty of in other areas, right? It's nice to have that centralized place that consolidates your knowledge. So yeah, and if you sign up to Hike, you get that included as well. So yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Perfect. Well, look, like I said, Andy, thanks again so much for coming on to talk to us about this. And thank you guys for tuning in as well. Obviously, you'll be able to listen to this on replay too. And if you want any more information about Hike, just go and have a look at hikeseo.co. And thanks very much, and hope to see you soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.